Joining me now for a legal analysis of the Rittenhouse verdict is attorney at law David Schoen, along with former senior legal advisor and counsel to President Trump and Newsmax contributor Jenna Ellis. We also have attorney David Wohl here. Thank you all for joining us. David, we'll start with you first. If American law is our guide, the outcome here was never in doubt. But American laws have been taking a back seat to the left wing and their violence and their extremism as of late. So, Mr. Schoen, how do you read today's verdict?
I read today's verdict as the system working, quite frankly. The case is a tragedy all around. It's a tragedy for many people and many families. But it's the system working, except for the prosecutorial misconduct in the case, which really ought to be addressed, but I'm sure won't be. I hate to say cynically. I have to say the jurors were courageous. They faced intimidation outside. By all accounts, they deliberated 27 hours over 4 days, which shows that they thought long and hard about the case. That's the system working. Unfortunately, many Americans take their cue from political leaders. It's indefensible that Joe Biden, when he ran for president, etc., referred to Mr. Rittenhouse as a white supremacist without any evidence whatsoever to support that. People have picked up on it. President Biden was asked to retract that on Friday. Apparently, he refused to do so. That's the system not working. But in terms of this case, this is a quintessential self-defense case by all accounts that I've seen and heard. It's a tragedy, but the system worked.
Yeah, we're going to talk more about Joe Biden and his lack of integrity later. Jenna, in a statement from Kenosha County District Attorney Michael Gravely, he says, quote, "We respect the jury verdict based on 3.5 days of careful deliberations. Certainly, issues regarding the privilege of self-defense remain highly contentious in our current times. We ask that all members of the public accept the verdicts peacefully and not resort to violence." Jenna, what the hell is this idiot talking about? The privilege of self-defense is highly contentious. Only in the minds of left-wing lunatics is it contentious, and it's not a privilege. It is our right as Americans to defend ourselves, correct?
100%. And my good friend David Schoen articulated it perfectly, saying prosecutorial misconduct. And there were so many instances throughout this trial that the prosecutors actually made misstatements in terms of the constitutionally protected right to self-defense. It is a right, not a privilege. And this is something where this continues to spread misinformation. If you look at social media, even now, the leftists are still claiming that Kyle is a murderer. And that is a legal conclusion that the jury said today does not apply to Kyle Rittenhouse. And so for Kenosha to still be putting out these types of statements, I think is very, very questionable at best and unethical at worst. And the prosecution here, if they were truly doing their job and they were going where the facts led and truly just doing their job, which is to prosecute in the interests of justice, not in the interest of being defense counsel for the alleged victims, which is basically what they did in this case, they would have never even brought this case to trial. They would have seen that this was a clear case of self-defense. They wouldn't have even inflamed the mainstream media. And the mainstream media also deserves to be held accountable here. And I hope that Kyle Rittenhouse will look at the statements from Joe Biden, members of the mainstream media, and hold them accountable for their false and misleading statements over the last year that America has been watching this case.
Yeah, I think Mr. Rittenhouse's attorneys ought to be looking at social media, and whoever's out there speaking out. If they're using the term murderer, that's defamation. And from Nicholas Sandmann, we know that there's some fertile ground there. Mr. Wohl, speaking of left-wing lunatics, I wanted to get to Mr. Biden. Wanted you to weigh in on Joe Biden reacting to the verdict today. Watch.
Well, look, I stand by what the jury has concluded. The jury system works, and we have to abide by it.
This from the guy who prejudged the trial before he heard any evidence suggesting Mr. Rittenhouse was somehow a white supremacist, falsely suggesting it was a white supremacist. Only in the ever-diminishing mind of Joe Biden can a white man defending himself from 3 deranged white men be a case of white supremacy here. What's your take?
Right. Well, note also the media didn't ask Biden about his statement calling Kyle a white supremacist a year ago because they don't have the guts. But yet, Biden has opened himself up for a defamation suit. There's no question about it. Kyle Rittenhouse is an ordinary citizen. He is not someone who's held to a higher standard regarding the proof in bringing a defamation suit. So I'm sure there will be a suit brought. against Biden, because what he did in making that statement was taint the jury pool irreparably. How they found 12 open-minded, solid jurors for this case is beyond me. But look, these prosecutors now, they took a case that should have never been filed, was clear self-defense, and they engaged in misconduct, staggering misconduct, incompetence, from basically commenting on the Fifth Amendment right to remain silent, to suborning perjury with 2 witnesses, to ending up giving a video to the defense that was nowhere near the quality they had. They were interested in basically not achieving justice. What they wanted was let those rioters, looters, and arsonists know, we've got your back. They belong where Mike Nifong is, the Duke Lacrosse prosecutor, disbarred.
Mr. Schoen, Democrats, some of them out there, blasting what they call a biased judge because he blocked prosecutors from using the term victims to describe the rioters that were killed. Now, that makes sense because the trial had determined whether they were victims or not. And as it turns out, they were the aggressors. Still, is there any legal ground for the state to say this wasn't a fair trial, maybe do an appeal?
No. And I have to say, the judge shocked me. I personally don't usually see so many judges with the courage to stand up and call things what they are. I don't see judges often outraged by prosecutorial misconduct like he was. He spoke his mind. You know, he's been at it quite a long time. He was very candid and frank, and he sent the public the right message in this case. The public rarely knows about prosecutorial misconduct because it goes on in quiet courtrooms all around the country all the time. It's critically important. Kyle Rittenhouse deserved a fair trial. This jury deserves all kinds of compliments, I think. And they're going back to live in this community now. And I'm afraid, we're going to see the kind of unrest that's led by comments from our leaders sometimes, like this white supremacist business.
Yeah, only if MSNBC gets their identities out there, as they apparently, at least in my opinion, they tried to do. Jenna, some of the left, like Joe Biden, going to want to turn the page on this very quickly. The last thing they want is America dwelling on the fact that we don't have to let their violent left-wing and inhuman foot soldiers harm us without defending ourselves. Should the right let these terrorists in Antifa and BLM off the hook? And should media outlets that tried to do to Rittenhouse what they tried to do to Nicholas Sandmann get off scot-free?
Absolutely not. And I hope that Kyle Rittenhouse becomes the next Nicholas Sandmann and that he files defamation actions against Joe Biden as well as other media personalities who have called him legally incorrect names and have tainted not only the jury pool, but the American people against due process, against the rule of law, and these false and misleading statements for the last over a year. And this is why media absolutely has to be held accountable. They are going to try to turn the page very quickly. I just saw on MSDNC, they're already trying to paint this headline as somehow this trial was set up to affirm white supremacy, vigilantism, other things like that from various media outlets. And this is something that the conservative right needs to affirm, is that due process matters. There's a difference between the court of law and the court of public opinion. Due process absolutely matters in this case. And for 12 ordinary American citizens, they had more courage than you see the vast majority of Republican politicians who are in office today. And that should tell us something, that when you have 12 ordinary citizens who are willing to stand up for truth and the rule of law, we need to expect more, not only from our media, but especially from our elected officials. And so I think that really the villain of this story is the establishment and also the prosecutors in this case who did commit that obvious misconduct in so many instances throughout this trial.
Amen to that. Mr. Wohl, a failed New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio reacting to the verdict, tweeting Anthony Huber and Joseph Rosenbaum were victims. The only reason they were not is because a dangerous, violent man chose to take a gun across state lines and start shooting people. To call this a miscarriage of justice is an understatement. This entire statement from Mr. de Blasio, the communist, is an out-and-out lie and refuted by evidence in court. But Twitter didn't flag this as misinformation. So, again, with Mr. de Blasio, did he just set himself up for a lawsuit?
Well, I think it's so incoherent that I don't even know if there's anything to sue on. But I will say this, from the mayor of a city where crime has spiraled out of control and the constitutional right of self-defense has been completely abrogated, it's shocking that he would make a comment like that. This was a young man who exercised his God-given and constitutional right of self-defense. And if more New Yorkers were availed of that right, my guess is the crime rate in that city would plunge precipitously.
Perfect. Perfect response to a guy like de Blasio. David Schoen, Jenna, Ellis, and David Wohl, thank you for your time and expertise, all three of you.
You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news channel, now in more than 70 million homes. You can get Newsmax TV on your cable system or check your cable guide. And if your system doesn't carry Newsmax, call them, tell them you want Newsmax TV, because we're real news for real people.